Hi guys, welcome back to this African Perspective. Thank you for stopping by. Okay, so today we're going to be checking out videos on how the middle class is literally, dying. So it's either you are just poor or you are rich. So you have to pick the two. Back in the days we used to have like middle class, we have lower class, we have upper class. And it's like these are the rich people, these are the elites, these are, the people that are up there and then the middle. But now it's like the middle class have been pushed down to poverty.
This country is literally destroying the middle class. Like, do we even have a middle class anymore? Or is it just like the haves and the have-nots? Because the haves are really, they're having, and the have-nots are really struggling. And I'm getting so stinking frustrated because I don't know how much more I can help my adult kids. And don't come at me and saying, oh, well, they stop eating avocado and toast in Starbucks. They don't work hard enough. Get fucked, first of all, because I can tell you that my oldest daughter was working 6 days a week, 12-hour days, while pregnant, to try to do what's best for her family. They lived in a 2-bedroom trailer that they were renting that was literally falling apart at the seams. And so she wanted something better for her family because she was pregnant with her second child. So she's busting her butt, working her ass off. Now, of course, her husband couldn't work because they couldn't afford daycare. That's a whole nother story. So they decided that he'd be the one to stay at home because she had the better job. So here she is working 6 days a week, 12-hour days while pregnant to try to save as much as they possibly can to get this home. So they finally purchased this home, and just for reference, their home was $220,000. That looks one of the cheapest ones they can find to fit their needs. And they pay $1,800 a month. Now, some of you are going to come at me and be like, $1,800, that's a steal, right? We're in Alabama. Yes, that's a steal in New York. So, stick with the story here. What I was trying to say is that $1,800 a month. My mortgage, I got a house for $220,000 as well back in 2014 before the housing market went butt up. My mortgage is only $1,100 a month because my interest rate was so much better. So here she is already paying $600 more a month for the same mortgage. So I was like, God. But here she is. She's working it. She's busting it. She gets in this house. She's so excited. I'm excited for her. She's still working her butt off 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And then she goes and delivers a full human and only takes 2 days off from work after delivering her baby because she can't afford not to. And she's still pushing through. She's like, all right, I got this. I'll do what I got to do. So I went to her house. I was helping with the grandbabies. I love my grandbabies to death, and I help wherever I can. But my husband and I are both retired. We both served 22 years in the Air Force. And then I worked six years corporate, and I saved all my money in that 6 years to get us out of debt so that we could retire. Our retirement is just enough for us. Like, we do not make Kardashian money. Our retirement basically lets my husband and I live. And now it's like, here she did try everything she could to get into this house. And then she gets a notification from the mortgage lender that says, hey, by the way, for year 2024, the housing insurance has gone up. The property insurance has gone up. Your PMI has gone up. So come next month, we're going to ask you to pay $2,300 a month instead of $1,800, an extra $500 a month. I've lived in my house since 2014, and yes, I understand property taxes go up, they reassess. The most I've ever paid more is like maybe $20, $40 more on my mortgage. Not, bam, $500. They were already struggling to pay the $1,800. Her company, after she gets this notification, tells her that they have to lay her off because they just can't afford to keep all these employees on. Right before Christmas. Right before Christmas, they lay her off. So we as a family get together, we help out. I started working more in my shirt shack. I have an Etsy shop and I work in my shirt shack. And I helped her pay her mortgage that month that she got laid off. And her husband were both now looking for a job. So then her husband finds the job this time. And he's working 6 days a week. Full time. Still are having a hard time now that they're saying that it's $2,300 a month instead of the $1,800 that they got in for it. And they can't afford daycare for both of them to go to work. They've tried to do the all work night shift, all work day shift. Y'all, it's not that she's not trying. Not at all. And I'm so frustrated for her because this is her first house. She busted her ass to get this house, and now it's a possibility it's going to be taken away. It'll be foreclosed on because they honestly just can't afford it. And she's like, all right, Mom, I got this. I'll file my taxes. And I'll get some money back, and I'll put that aside, maybe get ahead a little bit. First year ever. How the hell she got 2 babies, just had one this year, and not only do they not get anything back this year, they've always got something back. They did not get anything back this year, but she owes $3,000. And then I turn on the news every day, and I see that our government is just printing money, just printing it out to help other people that just crossed over the border illegally. Now, don't get it twisted. I am all for legal migration here. If you're going to migrate to the United States and you're going to get a job and pay taxes just like everybody else, I have no problem with that. But how the hell is our government printing money, because that's what I feel like they're doing, just printing money or stealing it from us through taxes and everything else, raising everything in the world, and paying everything for people to just cross over the border, and they get more than what people that have lived here all their life has. Like, for the first time in my life, I was always a law-abiding citizen. Like I said, I served this country. I was proud of this country, and now I'm embarrassed because this country just doesn't give a shit about the people that are struggling. And I told her, I said, you know what, you'd probably be better off just getting rid of all your identity, like getting rid of all your documents, driving to Mexico, and then crossing the border, and you'd probably get more benefits and have more money to help take care of your family. That is freaking sad. And when are we going to do something? Why are we even fucking paying taxes? Like, we already pay like a lot of taxes from our paychecks. And then we're taxed from whatever we got left over to buy anything. We are taxed out the wazoo. Property tax, everything is taxed. But we don't get to determine where this tax money is going. So we're hemorrhaging taxes while you're giving those taxes to people who never worked for them. And I'm supposed to tell my daughter to just buck it up, keep trying hard. And then I had to help my son, who's a college student, full-time job, help him buy groceries this month because he couldn't afford it either. And it's not for lack of trying. Y'all, we the people outnumber the haves. For the first time, I'd actually say, fuck it, don't pay your taxes. And I am normally a very law-abiding citizen, but I'm like, no, just don't. Because you and your babies come first, putting clothes on their back comes first, then giving it to a government that's just going to give it away to somebody who didn't work for it. Damn.
You see how the prices keep going up. That is why most people cannot even afford to buy a house now, because already paying rent is even a struggle, not to talk of going to buy a house that the price is just way too ridiculous and almost impossible for people to be able to even afford and buy it. As much as the insurance and everything just keeps rising and going up, do you know that her pay doesn't even go up at all, and she's still supposed to squeeze that in and be able to continue paying for her mortgage and still be able to continue going along with the cost of living when it comes to their grocery and every other thing that they need to pay for their life. So it's literally like a struggle, a rat race, more like you just diving into a rabbit hole. You guys, have you all seen how daycares are so expensive and ridiculous? So majority of the time, a lot of parents have to even make sure that, okay, one parent is at home, so the other one has to be there to take care of the kids, or you go to daycare and spend all your paycheck on paying for daycare, and then it's like, what's the purpose of it at the end of the day? There is no purpose, because I literally have seen people who are paying their entire paycheck, women who go and work and they pay hourly, they pay the same money that they're paid at work for their childcare. Can you imagine? So it's like, what is all this? And then, have you all seen how much they keep racking up the price of formulas and diapers and everything children even need? So at this point, it's like, you can't even afford to have children. Then the population cannot even increase. They literally do not even want that, because you can hear clearly some of them keep saying, oh, like, there's too much population in the world and the earth is just filled up. The earth is so populated that we drive down to a lot of places that are so empty and have literally no one there. And you're talking about the population is too much.
$174,000. And that's not doing well. That's the bare minimum for middle class.
Americans are getting poorer, and it's getting harder to make ends meet. Those aren't opinions. Those are facts.
Yeah, and let's be clear. A lot of us aren't getting poorer. A lot of us are making more money than we've ever made. We're getting poorer because our grocery prices are astronomical. Our rent prices are astronomical. The mortgage rates are astronomical. Car rates, astronomical. Everything that we need to survive is being hiked up astronomically. It's almost like they're trying to get rid of the middle class. But why would they do something like that? Why would a country not want its citizens to be well-fed, well-educated, and thriving? I don't know. I'm starting to think maybe we just crumble this economy to the ground. Let's hoard every single cent that we possibly can. Keep it out of the banks. I don't know, and let's just see what happens. Anyone have any other plans? Because I know personally, I live very modestly. This right here, this is not my home. If you watch my other videos, you'll see my home. Watch the one right before this. That's my kitchen. I'm an artist, but I also have plenty of other work. And I do all right. Our family is making more money than we've ever made. We don't even qualify for any assistance anymore, lucky us. But guess what? Now we also can't afford healthcare. And now, turns out, we also can't afford to pay our student loans back. We've been paying on those for years. But I just found out that they hiked mine up because we make more money now to a price that we can't afford. Hundreds of dollars because we make so much more money now. Almost like they want us to be poor. Because then at least we'd have some health care and could afford to pay off our student loans.
Gen Z doesn't agree that $74,000 is middle class. No kidding, it's not even close. Check this out. If you take $74,000 for a Gen Z, or let's say they have a bachelor's degree and they're 25 years old. First of all, $74,000 is much higher than the average income. Most Gen Zers are probably making anywhere from 40 to 50, maybe 60, but let's use 74. The take home after taxes, 401k, and health insurance is $4,300. The average college monthly payment on a loan is about $500. You're down to $3,800. Let's say this person is financially responsible, decides to split a 2-bedroom apartment in a medium-sized city like Orlando, so that their payment is $1,200 a piece, $200 for utilities, so $1,400. Now, unless they're going to have Lucky Charms and peanut butter and jelly, their groceries are going to cost about $600 if they're trying to get chicken, beef, and some healthy stuff. You have a $400 car payment, $200 in insurance, $150 for gas, $100 for a cell phone, leaves you with $950. This is no savings, investment, no emergency fund. Let's give them at least $300 to go on a couple dates or to hang out with their friends for the month so they can enjoy life a little bit. They're left with only $650. A bachelor's degree, $74K salary. You are splitting a 2-bedroom apartment with a friend and only have $650 left a month. It would take you years to save up the $30,000 that you would need for a down payment on a house with the closing costs. But even if you could get that down payment saved, you would still need to make $120,000 a year to be considered for a $400,000 loan. The middle class, the goalpost has been moved from $70K to $120,000 in just the past 2 years.
How you know it's so bad is to the extent where people will be making more money than they've ever dreamt of. Back in the days, they'll be like, oh my God, I wish, like maybe they were a few years ago, they were wishing and hoping that they would just make like, oh, I want to make above 100K, I want to make 150K. And it's like, then you're making it and you're like, everything, the price of things have been racked up. The corporate greed has become extreme, and at the end of the day, you notice that that money is not even doing anything for you. So it's like, why were you wishing and dreaming and hoping for that thing to happen, and then now you have nothing? You're not having much. And not to even say the ones who are still even making the same pay. They are still getting the same thing that they've gotten before, and everything, literally everything in their life has become more expensive. They go to buy groceries have become expensive. They go to pay for their rent has become expensive. Literally everything. When I say cost of living is high, that's just what it is. And what is going on? Like, why are the wages not going in line? Like, we could talk about inflation all day, every day. That is not even it. To me, I just see this as greed. And when I even think about a lot of things that's going on around the world now, sometimes I just try to limit what I watch because I think it gives me a lot of panic and it makes me worried about what is going on in the world. Because it seems like some of these people on the higher ups, like they just have a plan on, or they think something is going to happen. Maybe they know some things that we don't know about, because they are preparing for some things, like they are making sure that they have underground bunkers. Some of them are making sure that they pile up food in some places, in some warehouses, like a lot of food. While people are starving outside, people are lacking a lot of things for their survival. They are piling up and saving up things for their self. I'm like, what is going on? Because I don't understand. Because now, if people even scare you and tell you, oh, some things are going to happen, dangerous things are going to happen, you don't even have the money to go and buy. You don't have the money to go and buy things in bulk and say, let me save it. Where are you going to get the money to go and buy it? They'll be like, buy things, save it up, go and buy seeds, buy a lot of food so that you can start to grow your food, go and save up things, and nothing.
You want to know why the middle class is dying? I think the biggest reason is because cost of living keeps going up, but everybody's ability to make income keeps staying the same. So the middle class is being swallowed up into a poverty class. Because the average income for an American-born citizen is $56,000 a year. $56,000 a year! And I think that's before taxes too. So you're only taking home maybe like $48,000. That's $4,000 a month. I mean, most people's rent is $1,000 or $1,200 a month. How do people even survive off of that? That's poverty. So that's one of the reasons why the middle class is dying, because it's turning into a poverty class.
I keep seeing videos from people going, where are all the jobs? Why do they keep telling us there are jobs if there aren't? Why is the pay so low and the prices are so high? And what are they gonna do when we can't do it anymore? And you should sit down, because I have some things to tell you that I think are going to be pretty tough to hear. They don't care about us. Not the government, not the people that puppet the government. Their entire purpose is to bleed us dry. And the more time that goes on, the greedier they get, and that's why they're so impatient now. And once they've taken everything from us that they absolutely can, because we have nothing left to give, they're going to put us out on the streets. And since we're about 5 minutes away from homelessness being fully criminalized, they will then throw us in their jails and their prisons. Because slavery never ended. It just looks different now. And slave labor is free labor.
It's a clear sign of how badly the middle class in the United States is being hollowed out.
Do you know why the American middle class is at the worst it's ever been? It's not illegal immigrants or the most recent moral panic that conservative media is pushing out right now. It's also not because millennials and Gen Z are lazy or spending too much on avocado toast. This single graph should tell you everything you need to know about why the middle class is being gutted and failing. The short answer is unregulated corporate greed. The average CEO pay has gone up 1,000% since the 80s. And look at the typical worker pay. You can barely even see that line. It's increased about 10% adjusted for inflation. If you're making minimum wage or lower, it's worth less now than it's ever before. Minimum wage has effectively not increased since 80 years ago. Middle wage and lower wage earners have essentially not seen an increase in their pay since '79. Meanwhile, corporate profits have continued to rise. What we're seeing is an absolute failure to tax corporate profits and allow corporate greed to go absolutely unchecked in an unregulated capitalist system. Problems that exist in America's society today is not caused by the most recent moral panic you see on the news. It's from corporate greed.
One thing I've learned about being an American citizen is that it's better to be poor than be middle class. Because being middle class is the hardest fucking shit. You literally can't get no fucking help from the government if you are middle class. And you barely can survive out here being middle class. It's like if you're middle class, you don't qualify for certain things. Like, you can't qualify for an apartment because you got to make 3 to 4 times the rent. And of course, you're not making that being middle class. And I'm literally like right over the threshold of being fucking poor. And it's fucking dumb as hell, because if you're making over $2,500 in a month, you can't even qualify for any fucking governmental assistance. That makes no goddamn sense to me. Because $2,500 in a month is literally nothing when you have all other types of fucking bills. America's really like ass fucking backwards.
You have to see this quote from corporate Machiavelli, because he states that I stop taking anything a person says about the economy seriously as soon as they refer to America's middle class. Why? They have shown they are delusional. America has no middle class. The American middle class died in the 1980s. Now, this is 1,000% true, even though money printing has allowed the American consumer to believe that the middle class still exists. That all changed in 2008, and now in the year 2023, all of these chickens are coming home to roost. Chickens that were first laid as eggs in the 1980s with the presidency of Ronald Reagan, the conservatives' hero. Now, I'm not here to bash him entirely, because even though he did some really bad things during his presidency, he also did some incredibly great things during his presidency, like most presidents. The one thing that can't be disputed is that he cut taxes for the wealthy. And he did so under the guise of Reaganomics, an ideology that believed in cutting taxes for the top 1% so that they could make more money, which they could then trickle down the economy from the top to the middle class to the poor and working class. Now, of course, that never happened. The profits of the top 10% in America rose by over 100% during the Ronald Reagan administration, while wages for the bottom 90% only rose by 18% over the course of Ronald Reagan's presidency. Now, you may be thinking, oh, 18%, that's pretty good over the course of 8-9 years. But not really when you look at the 1970s, where every single year during the 1970s, the stagflation period, American wages grew by at least 7.5% per year. Not only that, but Ronald Reagan was a huge union buster. At the start of his presidency, there were about 300 union strikes per year in America. And by the end of his presidency, that number had dropped down to 40 per year. And that number has continued to dwindle down ever since. See, Ronald Reagan didn't exactly kill the middle class, but he started us on the path to killing the middle class. He inherited an America with about a 32% debt to GDP ratio, which wasn't great, but definitely not unsustainable by any means. In fact, when you look at other countries, pretty healthy. But by the end of his presidency, it had nearly gotten to 60% as he ran massive budget deficits. And for context, a 60% debt to GDP ratio, that's when you start getting into risky territory. So again, the middle class didn't die in the 1980s, but it definitely started its slow death in that decade.
It's so sad that we're dealing with this type of changes and how it's a struggle to live these days. I'm definitely going to say it is extremely sad. I know it's worst for some people and it's just like a little bit better for someone, but for a lot of people to collectively be complaining and be saying like something is bad, then you know it's really that bad. Because the complaint is really, really a lot from many people. I can remember maybe like a few years ago, if you go on social media, you wouldn't really see a lot of people saying all these things. If you go on TikTok, all these videos that you're seeing now, like just how many years ago did they start popping up where everybody's like, you know what, like we're tired of this, because it's getting very depressing. And you're like, what is the essence of like living? I do think like it's opening, personally for me, like when it comes to government, I know many people do have like this dependency on governments, like for help, like, oh, they're going to take us out of our situation, things like that. But me, for the very longest, what I've always thought about government is, at first, like growing up, they'll tell you, oh, like, yeah, the government's supposed to do this for you. This is what the government's supposed to do for you. And then you start realizing that these people, majority of them are very selfish and only care about themselves. Like, that is just how life is. That's when like real life starts downing on you and you're like, And then I keep saying that, no, I'm not talking about a specific country. That it seems like we're all repeated, like we keep repeating the same mistakes. We keep repeating the same thing, like keep believing and trusting. Like people do not have the power to kind of fight and stop some things. All right, guys, thank you all for watching this video to the end. I really appreciate you guys so much. And please, before you leave, don't forget to click the like button. It helps with the algorithm. I really do like that when I see that, so please do. The only reason why I'm telling you again for the second time is because I don't want you to forget, because I know it could easily slip your mind. And you can also leave your thoughts in the comment section and subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you're just watching this channel for the first time. I really appreciate you. I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.